Hello everybody! Thank you for tuning in for video number 4 in my watercolor technique series. We are going to be making this beautiful type of background image with the watercolors. I'm going to show you how to kind of layer all of these pieces together and make a beautiful card. Okay, so here we go. First thing that you're going to want to do is take your piece of watercolor paper and tape it down with some washi tape. And washi tape or painter's tape will work for this because it won't tear the paper once you pull it up. But you want to hold it down, and I also kind of want to get this border around the watercolor image. I don't want it to go all the way to the end of the page. If you want your image to go all the way to the end, then you don't need to tape it down. But I just kind of like that effect. It kind of frames the picture in. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do, like always, is get the paper really, really wet. And then we're going to use the aqua painter and fresh fig ink, and we're going to create kind of this background image. So I'm going to make sure that that the paper is very saturated. We want it to soak up nice and good. And I'm going to put ink on the lid of the stamp, the ink pad. Okay, and I've got my aqua painter. I want to make sure that it's nice and wet and clean. I'm just cleaning it off here. I'll bring this over so you can see. Cleaning my aqua painter. It's already got purple in it, but we'll just clean it off and start fresh. And we're just going to pick up some ink, and you can just drop it. You can even squeeze droplets off, and you just kind of want to spread it around to make your background. And I kind of like when the color kind of pools towards the tape and gets lighter as it gets set to the center. And I just kind of let that water just kind of run. And I'm even going to dab some of it off because I don't want it to be too dark. See, I kind of like that little light image. And you could go for a second pass if you wanted and continue adding more color. But I'm going to be stamping on this as well, and I don't want it to be too dark. Okay, so now I've kind of created my frame. I like to think of it as my frame. So now I am just cleaning my aqua painter. Okay, and now I'm going to be doing some stamping, but it's going to be kind of some kind of watery stamps. I'm going to get I have my leaf image. I'm going to stamp that a couple times around the outside, and I'm going to stamp several times without re-inking, so I get some lighter prints with the darker prints. And I'm going to show you how I like to spray my stamped image to get a little bit more of a watercolor look and kind of help the ink spread. So see, I can even stamp off once, and then I can get a lighter image. I think that's really pretty. And I think I'll stamp one more time. I'm going to stamp off once, and I'm going to stamp down here where my bird's going to be. Okay. And then I'm going to take my smaller flower out of the Petal palette stamp set, and I'm going to stamp that in this corner here and get some flowers. Again, I'm going to ink it up. I'm going to spray it. I even want my paper to be a little bit more wet. And I'm going to just stamp a couple times. I think that's a little too wet. I'm going to stamp off, stamp again, stamp off, So I got some flowers going on there in that corner. And then I have my polka dots down in this corner here. And I've just got my image. I'm going to ink it up. And I'm going to stamp off once. And then I'm going to stamp down below. And I love, look at how that water is just pulling the ink and just gives it that watery color. And then I need to stamp my bird. And to get this effect, kind of this halo looking effect around him, is I just made sure he was really wet. So I'm just spraying him with water. I'm putting him right on this leaf here. And you can already see the ink pulling. It's just really cool. And I am going to dab some of that off. And you can even take your stamp and you can stamp it again. I'm going to stamp right over him again just to make his image a little bit clearer. See that? But he still has the running water behind him, kind of that ink's kind of ran. So once you've gotten it where you want, you can blot off the extra water. And then we're going to speed dry, I like to call it, with the heat tool. So we'll do that real quick. All right, now that our image is dry, we are going to stamp our message, our little sentiment right here kind of in the corner. And we are not going to do a watercolor effect with that. Our paper is dry. We're just going to stamp it with the same fresh fig. And I've got that upside down. Okay, and we're just going to stamp the sentiment right here. There we go. All right, now this is another way to kind of help keep your paper less warped, is by taping it down. It actually helps it not be so warped after you've watercolored it. Now you'll want to be really careful with your washi tape, because as you can see there, I'm starting to rip the watercolor. If you have old washi tape, and I'm guessing this is probably fairly old tape, that if it can tear the paper. So you just want to take it off nice and slow and just be really careful about it, and make sure it doesn't tear. Because washi tape will do that sometimes. It's not supposed to, but sometimes it gets sticky. See, I was trying to take off that edge there. I just love that kind of that white border that we've created with the washi tape. It's very cool that you've got this watercolor image, but it doesn't go all the way to the edge. It's framed in. It reminds me like I'm looking through like a rainy window, like it's raining outside, and this is kind of like looking into the trees, and I see a bird kind of through the wet window. It's kind of a cool effect. I am tearing my paper. Don't like that. All right, so we've got the washi tape off. Now we need to glue down. Well, actually, before we do that, we actually need to tie our organza ribbon around this piece and tie a bow off to the side here. So I'm left-handed, so I tie my bows upside down, and when I do that, they actually come out correct. So it may look weird that I'm doing that, but I don't know. It must be the way that I tie bows backwards. I didn't do that tight enough. But this works. So if you're left-handed, yay. You can do like I do and see if it works for you too. Everybody ties their bows just slightly different. Everybody was taught different. I can't get it quite tight enough. But you get the general idea. The other thing you could do too is wrap it around, glue it down and cut it off, and then tie a bow and attach the bow with the glue dot That's always an option. You don't have to tie it directly onto the card. Okay, see, I'm happy with that. See how that turned out all right upside down? I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller so it's not covering my bird as much. And just trying to fuss with this bow. It's a little bit twisted. Bows don't ever come out perfect the first time. You always have to fuss with them. That's just a normal thing. Don't be intimidated by it. Just fuss away. All right. So there we go. I'm going to cut my little tails. I can keep fussing with my bow. It's kind of cattywampus here, but there we go. All right. And then we will glue that down to our Fresh Fig base. And you'll want to use a good strong adhesive. I love my Fast Fuse. You can even put it down with dimensionals if you want an added extra, layer. Kind of makes everything pop a little bit. So you put that down. Make sure your ribbon's where you want it. It's not going anywhere once it's glued down. And then even though the ribbon is tied down, you can even put like a glue dot behind it and it will hold your ribbon in place a little bit more. So there you go. And that's a simple, gorgeous, beautiful card that anybody will just be in awe of if they receive from you. You can put embellishments on it, rhinestones. I mean, you don't have to stop here. You can keep going and make it your own and make it gorgeous. And it is gorgeous just like it is. So this is a really fun technique, kind of playing with the stamping and also the aqua painter. So I hope you liked this technique. I hope you'll keep playing and trying out different things and using watercolor and watercolor paper in all of your projects. All right, thanks guys.